Welcome to the Monsters Among Us podcast. This is episode 5, Dark Watchers of California.
Yeah, today we're looking into these really kind of shadowy legends from the Big Sur area in California.
Right, the figures known as the Dark Watchers.
Exactly. For centuries, people have talked about these tall, human-like figures. You supposedly see them on the ridges, the peaks of the Santa Lucia Mountains.
It sounds incredibly eerie.
It really does. So our mission, if you like, is to sort of unpack where these stories come from. We'll look at history, eyewitness accounts, the whole thing.
Okay, so we're talking Big Sur, Santa Lucia Mountains. It's a pretty dramatic landscape, right? Where the mountains just crash into the ocean.
Oh, absolutely. And it's ancient land. You know, the Esalen people, they lived there for, gosh, over 5,500 years.
Wow, that long.
Yeah, a huge amount of time. Makes you wonder what stories they had, doesn't it?
For sure.
Then, fast forward to the 17th century, the Spanish explorers arrive, and they apparently encountered these stories too.
It did. Did they have a name for them?
They did. They called them Los Vigilantes Oscuros.
The Dark Watchers.
Uh-huh. The fact they named them back then suggests, this wasn't something new even centuries ago.
Right, it was already part of the local feeling, maybe.
Seems like it. Los Vigilantes Oscuros. It has a real ominous ring to it.
It really does. And the descriptions over the years are pretty consistent, aren't they?
Yeah, remarkably so. We're talking tall, elongated humanoid shapes.
Humanoid.
Often described wearing like wide-brimmed hats and flowing cloaks.
Cloaks. Interesting. Any other details?
Some reports mention them carrying sticks or maybe staffs. But the really striking thing,
What's that?
usually no facial features are described, just blankness.
Ooh, that is unsettling. Just a silhouette.
Pretty much, especially since most sightings happen right at dawn or dusk.
Ah, okay. So you see them silhouetted against the fading light or the new light?
Exactly. That liminal time, it adds to that spectral, almost unreal quality.
Like they're part of the twilight itself.
Yeah, something like that. And it's not just folklore. These figures seeped into culture, too.
Right. You mentioned John Steinbeck.
Yeah, the famous author. In his short story, Flight, he actually includes them. There's a line. Hang on.
Yeah.
He writes, once on a white barren spur, he saw a black figure for a moment, but he looked quickly away, for it was one of the Dark Watchers.
Wow.
No one knew who the Watchers were, nor where they lived, but it was better to ignore them and never to show interest in them.
So like a known thing, but something you don't engage with.
Exactly. They did not bother one who stayed on the trail and minded his own business. It really captures that local, almost superstitious understanding. Just leave them be.
That's fascinating. And implies a certain presence. Not necessarily malevolent, but there.
Precisely. And it's not just Steinbeck. There's a California landscape painter, Benjamin Bro.
Okay.
Apparently, he was inspired after talking with Steinbeck's son, Thomas. And his paintings, they really capture that eerie, watched feeling you get in the Big Sur wilderness.
Even without painting the Watchers themselves.
Yeah. It's more about the atmosphere. You just sense something.
That feeling of being observed. I can imagine that in such a vast landscape.
Definitely. And some people say Big Sur itself has this almost timeless quality. You feel the layers of history.
With the Esalen, the Spanish, even like later military stuff happened there,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. All these layers. Does that kind of dense history feed into these legends, maybe?
It seems plausible, doesn't it? A landscape that's seen so much. Maybe it holds on to things, onto stories.
Or at least shapes how people perceive things there. Makes the ground fertile for these kinds of enduring mysteries.
And it's not just old stories or artistic interpretations. People report seeing things more recently, too.
Right. There are modern accounts. Like, there was this Reddit user, Cockcastle86.
Okay, what do they experience?
We were working late, I think, at a Starbucks in Monterey. It was near an old abandoned fort or barracks.
Right near the coast there.
Yeah. And they saw something lurking, just shapes, movement in the bushes outside. It really freaked them out.
Okay. Could have been anything, I suppose, but...
But here's the interesting part. 2 Native American men came into the Starbucks shortly after.
Oh.
And they seemed to, acknowledge something was out there. They looked out the window, seemed concerned, and then apparently kind of kept watch themselves.
Really? So it wasn't just the one person feeling spooked.
Exactly. Their reaction suggested maybe a shared cultural understanding, or at least a recognition that something unusual might be present in that area.
That adds a different dimension. It hints at something more than just nerves.
It does. And then there's another one from someone named Takahu Olin, too.
Okay.
She was sightseeing in Big Sur with her husband and her ex-husband and his new wife.
Huh. Okay, interesting group dynamic there.
Right. Anyway, she looked up at the peaks, and she saw what she described as thin statues.
Statues, not moving.
Apparently not at first. But then her ex-husband and his wife saw them too, and they got really scared.
They did. What did they say?
They immediately identified them, said the Dark Watchers.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah. And they connected it to local Native American lore, saying the Watchers have been there since the beginning of time.
So a direct, fearful recognition based on local knowledge, that's pretty compelling.
It really is. It suggests it's more than just a quaint old legend for some people who know the area. It feels real to them.
Okay, so we have history, cultural references, modern eyewitness accounts. What about explanations? What could actually be going on?
Well, the most common and probably most likely explanation for a lot of sightings is tricks of the light.
Especially at dawn and dusk, right? Like you said.
Exactly. Low light, shadows get long and distorted. It's easy to mistake a tree stump, a weirdly shaped rock, maybe even a distant hiker for something else.
Makes sense. Your eyes playing tricks on you in that kind of lighting.
Yeah. And then there's pareidolia.
Right. Seeing faces in clouds or figures in patterns.
Precisely. Our brains are wired to look for familiar shapes, especially human-like forms. In a rugged landscape like Big Sur, with mist and strange rock formations, your brain could easily construct a figure out of ambiguous shapes.
So it's our own perception filling in the blanks.
To a large extent, probably yes for many cases. Then you have other possibilities.
Like what?
Well, altitude sickness, maybe. Big Sur has some high ridges. Lower oxygen, fatigue, that can sometimes cause hallucinations or altered perceptions. It's less likely for casual sightings near the road, but maybe for hikers high up.
Okay, a physiological factor. Anything else?
There's the infrasound theory, which is quite interesting.
Infrasound, what's that?
It's sound waves that are too low for humans to actually hear, like below 20 hertz, typically cited around 7 to 19 hertz for these effects.
And these can affect people.
Apparently, yes. Studies suggest infrasound can cause feelings of anxiety, deep unease, sometimes dread or even terror. Some people report physical sensations or even visual disturbances, like seeing fleeting shadows in their peripheral vision.
Wow. And how would that relate to Big Sur?
Well, infrasound can be generated naturally. Strong winds moving over mountain ridges or through valleys can create it. Given Big Sur's geography and weather patterns, it's plausible that infrasound could be present sometimes.
So the landscape itself could literally be creating a feeling of unease or causing weird visual effects.
It's a possibility. It wouldn't explain seeing a clear figure with a hat and cloak, maybe, but it could contribute to that general sense of being watched or seeing something indistinct and feeling spooked.
Okay, so trick of the light, pareidolia, maybe altitude effects, maybe infrasound.
Yeah, it's almost certainly not one single thing, is it?
Probably not. More like a mix of factors.
I think so. Misidentification, the power of suggestion, our pattern-seeking brains, maybe some weird environmental effects, all layered onto this really potent local folklore that's been around for centuries.
The lack of a single easy answer is kind of what keeps it mysterious, I guess.
Definitely. And that landscape, you keep coming back to the landscape of Big Sur itself.
It feels central to the whole phenomena.
It really does. It's wild, it's beautiful, but it's also got this weight of history, this remoteness. It just feels like a place where strange things could happen, where legends feel right at home.
Yeah. Even if you rationally think, okay, that was probably just a shadow, that primal feeling of being watched when you're out there, it can be hard to shake.
Absolutely. It's genuinely unnerving sometimes. The Dark Watchers, maybe they're just an embodiment of that feeling, that sense that there's something ancient, unseen, just present.
So wrapping up, what do we make of the Dark Watchers? Just tricks of the eye, maybe psychological effects, echoes of old stories?
Or maybe something a little bit more still lurking in those California hills.
It is fascinating how the place itself, the history, our own perception, it all seems to kind of weave together to create these stories that just won't go away.
Yeah, they really endure.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Next time you're out somewhere remote, especially when the light starts to go, and you get that little prickle on the back of your neck, that feeling you're being observed. Is it just the wind in the trees?
Yeah.
Or could it be something else?
Yeah, a chilling thought to end on.